he just brings out the knight to f6. He adds some more pressure to this pawn instead. So white castles. He's still voluntarily giving up this pawn, but what he has done by castling is he's unpinned this knight, so he's contributed an extra defender to that pawn, which black moves to exchange off. The intuitive move to play here would be to just immediately recapture the bishop, as shown on the screen, since it's threatening that knight on d4. But here Karjakin does something really interesting. He plays knight f5. And this gives up this pawn on e4, which, as we've been saying, is probably going to fall anyway. But it gains Karjakin some time by attacking the queen before, and so basically Malinin's going to have to deal with this attack on his queen before he can retreat that bishop away. So Malinin makes a pretty efficient use of his time. He captures the e4 pawn, which now threatens the knight while getting his queen out of the line of fire. So it's a pretty efficient move. Looks good. To defend the knight, Karjakin's got bishop d3, which he plays. And now Malinin plays queen g4. He has to retreat the queen, and so he offers a trade of queens. So what's the reasoning behind this? Well, Malinin is still up a pawn. So if he gets the queens off the board right away, he's going to really reduce the attacking potential that Karjakin has in the position. So I'll just go through a quick variation here. If this queen trade, then white recaptures this bishop, and black castles. Black's position here is pretty solid. There are no really glaring weaknesses, and white is down a pawn with a worse pawn structure, but has the two bishops. So there's some compensation for the pawn, but it's not really at all certain whether that's enough. So instead of trading the queens, white blocks this and forces black to move his queen again with f3. And white has few choices here but to swing his queen all the way to the other end of the board with queen a4, which allows white to finally take this bishop. And as you can see from this arrow on the board, white is threatening this g7 pawn, and to defend it, black castles. And if we look at this position, it looks a lot like the position that we had before, just the queens are still on the board. White still has a pretty compromised pawn structure. White's still down a pawn. White does still have the advantage of having two bishops instead of just one and a knight. But black's king looks safe. It's not exactly clear how white is going to proceed to press his attack. So Malinin has to have felt reasonably confident in this position. A confidence that he would find was completely misplaced, and which I'll describe in part 2 of this video. For the moment, however, this is Image signing out.